Ryan, let me start with you. We'll get into sort of, let me ask this, what took so long? When you think about the rationale that Merrick Garland laid out for naming Jack Smith as special counsel, and in fact, I think I have that sound. I want to play it right now.
The Department of Justice has long recognized that in certain extraordinary cases, it is in the public interest to appoint a special prosecutor to independently manage an investigation and prosecution. Based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel. Such an appointment underscores the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters.
Ryan, the reason I played that again, and I don't want to confuse people, he didn't say that today. He said that in November, and that was to Donald. The same rationale. It makes sense for Hunter Biden. What took so long?
Well, I mean, Hunter Biden isn't a presidential candidate, so I think there's a little bit of a distinction there. But, you know, moreover, I think that the U.S. attorney who was in charge and is now the special counsel here said that he needed everything, that he had everything that he needed, right? He could make these decisions independently, that there wasn't really a reason for him to be appointed special counsel. Something changed recently, and that was on Tuesday, apparently, is when, for the first time now, that U.S. attorney then asked to become special counsel. So now we're in a situation...
We don't know what changed, though, do we?
We don't. We really don't know what changed. You know, I mean...
Well, why should he be tried? Look, Lindsey Graham brings up, I think, a fair criticism. This guy botched the plea deal. We can... You know, Lindsey Graham describes it, says it's the craziest plea deal ever. It's please. That's not. But why put the same attorney in charge of this?
I mean, he is a Trump-appointed attorney.
There's other Trump-appointed attorneys they could have found.
This is true. I mean, he was the one who was sort of looking at this at the beginning, right? This case was sort of on his plate when this all came about. And ultimately, the stuff that they ultimately focused on, which is why this really got tricky, was not ultimately in Delaware, right? Mm-hmm. So when these cases are brought forward going forward, we're probably either going to see them in D.C. or in California because there's not really venue. The only reason that it moved forward temporarily in Delaware was because Hunter Biden agreed to say, hey, okay, I'll waive venue.
So are you saying that the rationale may simply be so he can file charges in another jurisdiction?
That's potential.
And I mean, that's the only reasoning?
That is one explanation of many. I think that, but he doesn't have the ability to do that, right? At this point, because there's no plea deal anymore, mm-hmm. He would have to move forward. He can't really do that in Delaware. He has to do it in the place where the alleged crimes actually took place because this is now a contested issue. This isn't something we're going to say, okay, we got this, we agree, let's move forward, let's put this behind us.
Monica Alba, I know what the White House is saying publicly. Nothing. They can say nothing publicly. What are you hearing behind the scenes? How concerned are they? This is no longer something they can compartmentalize as a right-wing obsession. Joe Biden's attorney general decided to name a special counsel into Hunter Biden. This takes that talking point off the table. What's the Ian Sams argument now?
You're right, Chuck, in that this now becomes incredibly complex politically, but I think the big thing I'm hearing from sources that I've checked in with is the added family dynamic to all of this just really complicates it. And we did get a preview of that when the plea agreement news initially emerged earlier this summer, and the president and first lady put out that statement saying, we love Hunter, we support him, we stand by him, we're not going to say anything else. And over the course of the weeks after that, I did a lot of reporting on just how the president views anything that relates to Hunter. And when aides have brought it up to him in the past, he has essentially told them, get out of here. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to listen to what you're saying to me about my son. He's my son. I love him dearly. I'm not going to keep a distance. Remember, we saw Hunter at the state dinner, at many different appearances in the weeks after that. There was absolutely no effort to make any kind of a change to the real modus operandi of this family inside the White House. And so I don't think you're going to expect to see that shift. And as part of my conversations today, that is still the line. Of course, this is a president who is now dealing with his own special counsel separately. His son is now under special counsel review. But at the end of the day, they're saying this is a father who, that is how he views this, through that prism first and foremost. Whether that creates a ton of blind spots for him, whether that is something that politically backfires, he doesn't really care. And so that has been the sort of first knee-jerk, a little bit more probably emotional reaction to all of this. But the White House is going to continue to say this is like any other Department of Justice probe. We had nothing to do with it. We didn't have any kind of a heads up. This is not us interfering in any way either. And they want to make that a very crystal clear point as well, Chuck.
Well, we shall see what this does. His polling numbers are just in terrible shape when you consider who his opponent is and the thrice indictments. And speaking of that, Ryan, let me move to that case. And you were in the courtroom for that. And I will get you in here, Garrett, since your beat is the Trump beat. So the judge, on one hand, accepted the premise that there are some things that are sensitive. But she also seemed to put the burden on the Justice Department to decide what would be sensitive and what isn't. So do we have an idea of what that is yet?
I think the Justice Department wants to make that a lot of things. There are some things that are just public that he can access in other ways. He already has access to a lot of this information they're turning over in discovery. So, you know, that huge number when you hear 1.6 million documents, it's a lot. But he's already got a lot of that. You know, a lot of this will be searchable. Is all of it relevant? It's all going to be a lot of transcripts. I mean, certainly a lot of work. But I think DOJ is basically coming out and saying a lot of this, you know, should be protected, and especially because of the language that we've already seen Trump use on social media and the impact that we've seen in other cases. It's very important to make sure that's protected.
What's enforcement look like?
Great question. I mean, right, there's really only one.
Well, that's what we all know. I think there's a good answer now. What does enforcement look like?
I mean, the judge sent a very strong message at the end of that, and she said she would do what is necessary to make sure that this doesn't become a circus, that we're going to keep these rules in place, that they're going to operate as close to normal as is possible in this case.
I thought the judge came up with a very effective enforcement mechanism. We had this conversation yesterday. It wasn't clear what it would be. Her comments that anything you say that could prejudice this case, that could interfere with the jury pool or witnesses, will speed up the date at which we need to go to trial. I thought that was by far the most effective.
You thought that was effective by basically saying, look, the more you mess around with this,
the quicker we got to start.
The quicker we'll start.
There's nothing Donald Trump's team wants more than to delay this. They would delay years.
Let me put up the current calendar. This is the calendar as proposed by the Justice Department right now and everybody else on. This is Trump's primary calendar, if you will. So there's August 23rd. So January 2nd would be start of the trial. 13 days later, Iowa. Then, of course, you have March. We've left out all of the other primaries in between January and March there. We will update that graphic when we get the chance. But there's a couple things I'm hearing here. Number one, that the Justice Department is likely to ask New York to move their date. That is more likely than not going to happen. Opening the spring. I mean, is the Trump legal team going to be realistic in their ask?
No, not at first. I mean, I think that in the ask that they're going to put on paper coming up here, I wouldn't be surprised if they ask for a date in 2025. Right. But I think they understand that, you know, they got to start big.
They got a
and
judge
walk
who has
backwards.
no interest in that.
No, absolutely not. But that became more clear today, by the way. She said in several different ways, basically, your politics are your problem. I mean, that she made it very clear that Donald Trump being a political candidate is not going to factor into her decision at all.
Before I turn to Carol Lamb to sort of unpack more of this legal stuff, Washington Post had an interesting little story today, our friend Aaron Blake over there, about how suddenly Donald Trump is adding the phrase, in my opinion, quite a bit now, that the lawyers have gotten him. He still says the election was stolen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a noticeable change. Are you noticing this?
Yes, but this is the kind of thing where he gets cautious for a few days or a few speeches, then he backs off. We've seen this pattern for 8 years now, so I wouldn't expect it to hold. It does seem like the lawyers might have gotten a hold of the teleprompter for a little bit, but you ask me again in a week.
Ryan, when should we expect a final decision on trial date?
The end of the month is when it's really going to be set, to 28th. So Trump's team has to respond in the next few days, and based on what the judge said today, given that they are receiving
the window is much smaller.
1.6 million documents, you said, well, I can guess what your suggestion is going to be after learning that number of the figures of documents they're going to receive. It's going to, I think Garrett's right, they're going to try to go as long as they can.
The best they can hope for is the summer, isn't it, of next year? And that would probably be generous.
I mean, if I had to put a number, I think maybe March, you know, like somewhere in that, couple months down the road. Yeah.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.